time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
With Barnet Bain. Good moment, everyone.
It's always a good moment to be here.
It is always a good moment. Sometimes I don't remember that it's always a good moment.
you don't remember to get the moment.
But this day, I do remember.
Yeah.
So it is a good moment. So many wonderful changes going on. So many interesting things.
Yeah.
I have a thought that I want to toss at you.
Sure.
I met somebody yesterday, and there's somebody who I admired for many, many years. I've admired this person. And I ran into them at the grocery. And
Is this the first time you've met them?
Yes.
Okay,
I should say I ran into some. I didn't meet them. I ran into somebody at the grocery. So somebody, a very public figure. And I was aware that I experienced my own energy in an unfamiliar way. I could feel myself, if I was to draw like the rings of Saturn, if I had rings around myself that marked my boundary, I could feel my rings move over to this guy, like I was unnaturally. My border had unnaturally invaded somebody else's space because I had sort of a lust. I don't mean that in a sexual way, but I had this kind of desire to be known, and I could feel my sense of myself, my own energy, changing in ways that I don't necessarily prefer. But what was most interesting to me is I could feel my energetics completely changing, and I lost my sense of my boundary. Have you ever had something like that?
You know, it's fascinating you brought this up. My wife and I were talking about this morning. So her friend Judy hurt her knee, and she's going to physical therapy for it. And there's this nice man, Frank, who has been... in the very beginning, she was in a lot of pain, and this man, Frank, was having his physical therapy at the same time as she was, and he was very kind and very encouraging. He's also injured himself in some way and going through physical therapy. And then subsequent, I think it's Thursdays, I don't know what day it is, but I think she said Thursday, this man is there because he has the same appointment time with the different therapist, but using the same facility. And so they start up this dialogue, and they're really enjoying each other, and they've sort of become friends. And then someone comes up to this man to sign something, and she realizes, oh my gosh, he must be famous. Who is he? I won't say who he is, but he's a famous man. And she said to my wife something very interesting. She says, I'm so glad I got to know him before I figured out who he was. Isn't that brilliant? Because of what you're talking about. Like, had she known who he was, it might have tainted her ability to be, just human, just who she is, and get to know this person.
Well, I'm really, really thrilled that we have our guest with us. I'm really thrilled that this is the second appearance of our guest on our show. And I know that Byron Katie is going to have something to say. Is it true that Byron Katie is going to have something to say about this? And how do you know that it's true?
That's right.
How do you know it's true that Katie's going to have something to say about this? But we certainly hope she will. Katie, welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Thank you. It's always so much fun hanging out with you too.
Oh, it's such a blessing to have you. So I know that you have some veils that you can pull back that are going to give us insight around this matter.
Well, I can only tell you what's going through my head as I'm listening, and it was just wonderful because I can see the people. Maybe they've read Loving What Is, or maybe they saw somebody working with someone on YouTube, or for whatever reason, they've done the work, it seems, but they'll see me and just come into my arms. I mean, in grocery stores, on the street, at Pete's coffee shop. It's just the other day, and it's when there are no strangers. When you know yourself, you know everyone. So somehow, for some people, that comes off, even when you even when you think you know who they are, like a celebrity or someone that you're close to and you've never met. So for me, as one of those, one of the people that have experienced that occasionally, I love it. I love it because it's like being with one of my children or a relative or a long lost friend that we haven't talked in a long time. It's the most for me. I appreciate it, and I can't say that for everyone, but I seem to be so at home in myself that who isn't welcome here. And so, of course, I feel the same way when I see someone familiar. In fact, if I see a celebrity, I don't experience that difference. I just see someone I really love and appreciate and grateful to. And then there are some of them that, I think that's what I was going to say. There are some of them that I don't appreciate, but no one comes to mind like that. And, living in Los Angeles and spending time around the globe in the places I do spend, I have some experience here of like you were saying earlier, I have the privilege of having that experience of what identity I'm in when we meet these people or when we're met.
Yeah.
So I remember, I'm so in touch with when I didn't have that kind of comfort in me.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Because I think clearly, Katie, your work, your life's work came out of, your fears and insecurities.
Absolutely.
And so much of the challenge when that little part Barnett was sort of expressing of wanting to be seen or liked or known by someone, like having respect.
Not wanting to be.
Or not,
Right, or the fear of not being seen or known.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, the tripcord where a lot of us, we want to feel like we matter. And look, our culture does a big thing about celebrity. I mean, we've got a big charge around people.
If I want to, just for other people out there that relate to what you've just said, if I want people to see that I matter, then to my own mind, I don't matter. And what I mean by that is I matter whether anyone in the world knows it or not. I've discovered that. I matter when I water my plant. I matter when I wake up in the morning. I matter, for me, there's just this perfect synchronicity going on all the time, and we're all a part of that, and it matters to the whole. So once a person really, really gets that about themselves, the need to matter in the eyes of other people, it falls away.
This is always the deepest, most critical understanding. But I notice it constantly. I notice in myself when I drop out in that area. But I also notice it in the world. I see it particularly. I'm thinking of some situations recently, and people who want love, they want romantic relationships, and they have an insecure sense of themselves around the person, or sometimes it's things that are desired, and they're back to this idea of boundary. Because they are insecure about their own mattering, about their own sense of self, they can sometimes invade other people's space, or they can become so small that they're almost invisible, that they can't actually manage to belly up to be in relationship with others.
It's. I remember those days, that lifetime, and it. The word horrifying comes to mind. It was horrible. Horrible. I was like that sometimes when I just walked into the room and my children were having a conversation. I could get a bit paranoid even about that. They're laughing and I'm left out. I mean, it's just crazy and painful. Yeah. And so, as eventually I learned how to identify what I was thinking, separate it, isolate it, and then question it. And it's just so powerful. It really can set a person free, because when we question what we believe, we're dropping into our own selves for those answers. We're not going to the world for those answers. We're finding them once and for all within ourselves. And it's mind-blowing, the simplicity that at our fingertips when we just understand that from experience. And of course, that's what I do. I pass on. I support people to understand that experience. That's not. I just how to do inquiry. Basically, that's what I do in the world because it worked for me and it's working for so many people.
Well, unconditional mattering, sort of, again, so many of us put so many conditions on our mattering. I matter if I have a lot of money. I matter if I'm doing something important that people recognize. I matter if I have, PhD or MD or letters after my name.
That assumes when I have the money, then I'll matter.
Yeah. Well, and this is...
When you have the money, you take that thought system with you.
That's the big trip cord. You don't run away from the work required to elicit a kind of innate mattering, which I think is what you're talking about, right? It's the connecting to our innate mattering and directly. It's self-awareness, and directly by challenging the conditional mattering, directly by challenging all of the stuff that comes up, the thoughts specifically that come up that say I'm not good enough.
Yeah, and to just isolate that thought. I see those wild thoughts like that, those painful thoughts as children, that have been we haven't spent time with those children, so no one cares about me. For example, seeing that as a child, how do I react when I think the thought, no one cares about me? All the images and pictures in my head, and then my description of those pictures in my head. And then how I feel when I witness that movie, that's how I react when I believe the thought. It's not I, that it's not I that I am seeing and experiencing. It is the illusion of myself. It's false identity. Who would I be without the thought? No one cares about me. Witnessing people with a lack of understanding of who I am because they're not aware of who they are yet, and I can't expect it. So am I aware of who I am? Not when I'm in that identity. And when we question what we're believing, those identities, it's like a snake shedding its skin. We're just gone, and we're left with who am I, and without. And the answer to that question is nothing. And I don't mean the answer is nothing. I mean, it's waiting for the answer. And if it never comes, that's the answer.
Well, I want to share an experience that I had. Actually, with you. You were. I was in an audience a couple of years back in Ojai, and I went along on a process through this inquiry, and I came to a place of real intimacy with a sense of myself holding very lightly these structured ideas. And when I turned to Sandy afterwards and the people that I was with, I experienced myself in a very awkward relationship because I didn't want to harden back to the familiar structures. But this was such virgin territory that I felt brand new. And
I felt what?
I felt brand new.
Yeah.
It sounds like a kind of innocence.
I felt an innocence, and I didn't have the. This is an unfortunate language because I don't have anything better. I didn't have the comfort. There is a certain comfort to to what is familiar, even though it no longer is helpful in many ways in my life. To set it aside requires an innocence and it was such a virgin experience to me, and I was shocked is also the wrong word. I just was very aware of how awkward it is to be brand new.
And because the mind would swoop in, the ego would swoop in and say, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. But if you notice, you do know what to do. You're doing it.
Yes.
You're standing there, or you're sitting there, or you're lying down. It knows what to do, and the ego takes that over like it's the doer.
Yeah.
And it costs us. It's that identity that costs us that innocence. And it's okay. It's okay. You've had the experience, and it's such an amazing reverence, and you can look back and you can see, in truth, you were okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. So then we can go on and do a little more inquiry, a little more, seeking within ourselves and just be open because you were okay. And it's a little strange, you say, where it's a little comfortable being in that identity. The identity is false, and that is ego, and of course it's more comfortable there. It's even though it's false, it exists. It thinks, wow. Even though what is existing is again false identity. I'm like you. I have words they certainly don't do this justice, but it is good that we point to it, speak to it, through experience.
And on radio, fortunately or unfortunately, it's all we have. But we also have to take a break. So let's do this. I want to take a break, and then I want to come back, because something you said, this idea that ego identity costs us our innocence, that's so powerful, and there's so much to say about that. But we need to pay some bills, so let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll start off right there here on Cutting Edge Consciousness with Byron Katie. Stay with us, please.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
That's right. Welcome back indeed. You're here with us on Cutting Edge Consciousness, our special guest, Byron Katie. So, Katie, you were just about to pick up on a thought, and I'm going to invite you to continue on that thought.
Well, if my thought was if I saw very high profile a celebrity and I really want to meet that person, what would stop me? Like, we're in the grocery store. What would stop me? What I'm thinking and believing, that would stop me. So
yes, that's what would.
I'm assuming everything about this person. They're going to be put out. They're not going to appreciate this. They're going to be upset. They'll give me their autograph, and they don't really want to. I mean, blah 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 blah. All that
is completely true. What happened, and for me, in the story that I began with, was that I realized, similar to when I was referring to people who are eager for love affairs, I realized that what was motivating me to lose my sense of grounding, to lose my sense of being embodied, to lose my sense of boundaries, was a very childish sort of egoic vanity. That there was really no need for me to meet this person. There wasn't really a context for it. It wasn't necessary. It was a triggered response from a much younger part of myself. Mm-hmm. And in abandoning myself to that part, I was aware of losing my own sense of boundary. I was no longer the captain of my ship. I was no longer the lover, as you expressed earlier, the lover of those thoughts that wander through. I was not in a position to love the thought. It was running me.
Well, how can I love them if I'm believing them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was like I had just embraced it. I saddled up that horse and I was riding it.
Well, and what?
It's like we're sitting there at 3 years old going, "Oh my God!"
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly it.
and I know. I know it's what we're attached to in the moment. You know, that what we're thinking and believing attachment, and once we know how to question what we're believing. You know, it's a ride, and we know the way out.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier, the memory you have of a past self, I don't remember exact language you used, but I love that. That was, oh yeah, I remember that. I would have been horrified, I think.
Yeah, it involved horror.
Yeah, horrified. And I think what horrified, because Barnet, you kind of brought up the word, the feeling of desperation. That word, you know, that word in of itself just gets me kind of going, oh.
Well, Katie chose the word horror, and that was not an accidental choice. I mean, those are the frequencies of it.
Yeah.
You climb into that box. That's what's in the box.
But you know, when I compare it with my experience today, it is horrifying.
Yeah.
But it was just a way of life. It was that you know, that identity you referred to as. It is comforting. You know, it is more comfortable than the don't know, than our innocence. And it's like it's hell, but I'm
but it's my hell.
Well, and the relationship with the part of me that is desperate. Look, there's an aspect of my experience where desperation is very familiar, and so when those stressful thoughts come up, the desperate ones, you know, my ability to relate to that aspect of my experience versus, you know, identify with it versus go on the ride. And what I love about your work, Katie, is that you provide people with a tool to interrupt the ride and question it.
Well, even if it's not interrupted, if you just sit down with it later.
Yeah.
And sit in that situation again and fill out that free Judge Your Neighbor worksheet at thework.com and just, you know, it's a way to put our thoughts, the thoughts we were thinking in that situation, a way to put them on paper. And, you know, even if it's later, because if we thought them then, you know, we're going to think them. If we thought them then, we're going to think them again.
And what I see happening is we're changing our relationship with desperation, right? So as opposed to having the desperation be something we're trying to fix or solve or get rid of, it's simply a way of relating to the desperation that, from my perspective, feels more appropriate or at least more empowering. And
it's a beginning, because eventually what happens is you can't make desperation happen. It just doesn't happen, and you don't even know it's not happening. It's just someone said, "Have you been desperate lately?" And you go, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I haven't been living desperation." You know, you don't even notice what's absent until someone asks you, and you, oh my, like stress. What is that? Or worry.
Yeah, was I ever desperate?
What is that? It's like it's been 3 months, or it's been 10 years. I mean, it's shocking. Freedom is an interesting thing, you know, free of what? If it's not there, it's not there. So you don't miss it.
So let's talk about freedom just for a second, okay?
Yeah, that's compelling.
There's this sort of freedom from, which is sort of what we've been exploring. But my experience of you is that you're much more calibrated to something else that I would call freedom to, as opposed to freedom from.
I love that.
You know, even now as
because the minute we say freedom from, we're defining ourselves as. But there is an experience that I'm having right now with you, even though we're on the phone. There is, and I've never heard you use this sort of language, but I'll use it. There is an energy transmission
that is delicious, that is not something that I'm running through the hard drive that exists between my ears. I'm feeling it in... I have a different relationship with it. I'm feeling it, and it's wonderful. And this, I think, has I'm experiencing it as having much to do with the freedom to grow into something, as opposed to the freedom from conversation, the rehab conversation.
Freedom is it's the absence of fear. It's a fearlessness, and it comes out of one's own experience with nothing hidden. And it's like, you don't know what I'm going to say next, and I don't know what I'm going to say next. And whatever it is, I can't even take credit for it because it's not planned. It's coming directly out of this authentic place, and it could horrify some and bring comfort to another. But it is what it is, and it's like sitting down with someone you trust, really, isn't it?
And the interesting
that makes your radio show popular because it is what the two of you come out of. You'll say anything. You just spin it out there. And it's delightful, and it's something I love being a part of.
And what strikes me is there is a maturity. We have used this term before, mature innocence, where there's enough of an experience, enough of a recognition of some innate qualities, the kind of freedom when we're not striving to fix anything, right? I think that's what Barnett was bringing up. The innate mattering, we kind of brought that up before, that it really allows for a kind of trust. And that's a powerful place in the process, because I do think, Katie, that a lot of people, and I'm included in this, my early entry into your work, into lots of other people's work, was the freedom from. I was trying to fix something. I mean, that's the truth. And at this point in my life, I'm more inclined, though that still kind of comes up for me, but I'm more inclined to move, as Barnett was sort of saying, in a freedom to. And it is this innocence. It is this understanding that there's this innate well-being, innate freedom, that I don't have to do anything to get it, right?
My term for that is just like noticing. There's this celebrity, and just noticing this internal experience going on. It's delicious.
And it's noticing without having to go on the ride, because again, the discipline of being able to learn to interrupt the pattern of thinking and move through it so it's not hijacking our lives is critical, because it is mature. It's not innocence from the early innocence, though it might feel that way in moments. It's a maturity to have kind of worked through a lot of the freedom from stuff.
Well, I think you're saying that noticing is not the same as thinking, overthinking, obsessive, compulsive thinking. It's just noticing.
There's that wave of you had several names for it, what was going on, and it's am I starstruck? Not your words, or am I an attention seeker, or what would he think if I blah blah blah? And the emotions that go with that, and just noticing the condition, and just noticing where you are, and for me that's huge.
What's
because
huge?
We're not, and there's something wrong with me. What's the matter with me?
Now you're just noticing.
This, blah, 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 blah.
I just got it right now. I just got it right now, because even it's a propensity that there's something to do, some process to work. I love this. It's just the noticing. That's enough. It's enough.
Letting it move through.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's it. That's where the education is. That's where the expansion comes from, out of that noticing. And it doesn't matter what we name the emotion, whether it's alarm or love or we think it's hate, whatever it is, just to notice and we, it's expansive.
The naming. So that naming is a sort of compulsive behavior.
Incessant naming.
I mean, to live without naming. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and we don't know what it is.
Right.
Let's say we're at a funeral. We've lost someone, a loved one, and we're crying and crying and crying. Well, is that sadness or love? The mind says, "Oh, I'm so sad," but really, have you questioned it? It could be, you're in a state of love and it's misnamed. So just noticing.
I love Barnett's comment that when he was in your workshop and I think achieved this experience you're talking about, but just how disorganizing it was. Because who am I if I'm not analyzing or...
If I'm not like over-caring or over-functioning. If I'm not like making everybody else's business and calling it love.
I'm sort of relieved, but then simultaneously threatened by that,
Yeah, it's an identity threatened.
It is an identity threatened. It is. Oh, my gosh.
Without that fear, without that identity, let's say, then how am I going to go to work? Where am I? Am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to know what to? The ego will just throw those stories at us.
Totally.
And if we believe them, then we're caught again, and it's not right or wrong. It's just nothing changes other than what we're thinking and believing about it.
It is always just utterly delicious, Katie, to have you on the show. I always have.
Yeah, I need a designated driver now.
Yeah, how am I going to get home? But before we let you go, because we don't want to, but we are coming to the end of the segment. Before we let you go, I do want to give folks info on getting in touch with you, on doing your work, anything you're up to. I mean, whatever you want to share with our audience.
Well, if people relate to this conversation, I'd suggest 1,000 Names for Joy. And if they're interested in inquiry, which is my job is to bring inquiry, just, to share that. So that would be thework.com and or YouTube, Byron Katie on YouTube, and how to do the work. Inquiry is all free at thework.com. Anything I have that is important, it's all no charge on thework.com. And then I have paid events where, the 9-day school for the work that is, I have trouble speaking to that. It's more powerful than words, and everyone can't afford the time or being away from their families or the money. So it's always inquiries free on the work.com. Oh, I have a New Year's cleanse coming up, a mental cleanse.
Yes, I was going to mention
Let's
that.
talk about that.
People can come in for 10 minutes, for a day, or all 4 days, or 3 days, whatever it is, and we just kind of come and go, and I'm just it's just the work unplugged, and I'm in that room all day.
And it's at the airport, I think, isn't it? LAX at the airport?
LAX, at the Crown, yeah.
At the Crown Plaza, so you can find more about that on our Cutting Edge Consciousness
we'll
site.
put up that for sure.
It's a trip.
Katie, thank you so much. It's always a gift. You're a tremendous gift, and I love... there's so much about what you do and how you show up in the world that I love. I love that you make so much accessible for folks, some free. Obviously, they can go deeper if they can, if that's a priority. But you're a blessing and a gift, so thank you.
Thank you. I love being with the two of you. It's so much fun, and I hope that your listeners aren't too confused and in some way that
If they are, it's good. We'll just have to pull over the car.
Yeah, we'll have them come back next week.
All right. For those of you listening, we invite you, of course, to check out Katie's work, and we invite you to stay with us because Barnett and I will be back after these messages to wrap things up here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
That was a nice ego-dropping dunk.
It was great. Yeah, I'm baked. I'm totally baked.
Welcome back, by the way. This is Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Oh, yeah,
Michael's
that's right.
here with
That's exactly. We're doing Cutting Edge Consciousness today, right?
Who knows?
That's right.
I can't drive home.
No. That's good.
But it's so great. I mean, so many things. This whole idea of if your ego identity costs you your imagination. Wow. Your imagination, I said innocence. Whatever. Imagination.
Both are true.
Yeah.
Both
Slipped
are true.
and told the truth again. Yeah, no, and this, what I love, and you mentioned it, is just how Katie shows up. I mean, she really is. She is in this general freedom of supreme okayness,
Yeah. And there's, when it's integrated in that way and balanced so magnificently in that way, then I'm able to experience her. I'm sure many, many people do, but I'm able to experience her just as a field, energetically. I can feel her presence, even on the phone.
Totally. And it's no mystery that so many people gravitate to her because, again, and I love that she puts so much up for free. I mean, that's really beautiful. She really does see the gift of the work that she does and wants to offer it to as many people as possible, as many ways as possible. So you meet her where she's at. I love the dunk in the what did my LAX event? Remind me of what it was just called. I mean, I'm so not thinking.
The New Year's. That's the New Year's mental
bath.
Yeah.
We'll call it a bath.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's too bad for those of us. In the U.S., Thanksgiving is coming up very soon.
Yeah.
And if she had one earlier, you could just go and bring your turkeys. And you sit there with your turkey with her. In 5 minutes, it's cooked.
That's right. Oh, it's like a delicious spiritual deep fry.
Oh yeah.
You come out a little crispy though. No, I'm just kidding.
So just beautiful.
And I love her space up in Ojai. For folks who've never been there, she's got this beautiful old Victorian on a corner. That's the space for the work. If you're going into a lot of her workshops up there, some of the trainings are up there and so forth. So
yeah. So this reminder from Katie to love these thoughts and to love these feelings and to be mindful of the distinction between thinking and noticing. Awareness is not thinking. Awareness has gotten a bad name from thinking.
Yeah, it has.
Very, very different. I once heard Eckhart speak to make very much the same distinction. He was talking about noticing and pure awareness, and he had this wonderful, wonderful example. He said, imagine you're like down on the floor, with your chin on your elbows, and you're staring in a mouse hole, and you're waiting for the mouse to come out. You're just waiting for the mouse to come out. That's awareness. You're not thinking about the mouse. You're just alert. Waiting for that mouse to come out. So that's so fabulous. But now I have to admit that I have heard these distinctions for many, many, many years. And they just don't go in until they're ready to go in. They go in when they're ready to go in. Because I would hear that and I'd think, well, what the hell does that mean? Can I say hell?
Yeah, you can.
After 4.5 years, I have to ask that question now.
We didn't get fined.
We never did, right?
So far, we've done really well. We owe our engineer for that because he
beeps everything out. Yeah, so it's proof he's not sleeping.
It's proof he's not sleeping. This innate mattering. I love that too. I got to remind myself, I don't have to work so hard.
It's, there is an experience of the mattering, an experience of being connected to core. Mm-hmm. And short of the experience of it, it's just mental buzz. Again, it's like hearing about awareness for years and still making it into a bunch of thought.
Right.
Mattering is not a mental concept. It's not, here are the 10 reasons, here's the 7 steps to why I matter. It's not a mental concept. Just like feelings, as I said last week when we had Philip Shepard on, I fessed up that feelings do not happen in the head, which was a big shock to me. That was a big surprise.
Oh Lord!
These are body experiences, and who knows if it isn't the case that at some point my experience of feelings, embodied feelings, will extend not only to my own bodies, plural, but also to maybe it will track in through a sense of compassion that I have for everything else that's surrounding me. And I have an image of the whole deal as like some kind of snow globe.
Yeah. Underneath all of the incessant thinking, as Katie said, is just joy, is just well-being. If we can quiet it enough, we can get into the awareness that she was talking about, where it's all just happening, but there is a deep connection, sense of innate matter, innate well-being, innate wholeness, or something of that nature. And we don't have to work so hard. For me, that's a huge relief, because, the part of me that's been working for approval, working to matter so hard, that I can put that down. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. So there we have it.
Okay, let's put it down on 3.
We're going to be here for a minute putting it down. But it does happen in an instant, because again, I don't think that you just, there are glimpses, but there is work involved. There is a process without making it about the work, right? There is a mature innocence that we come innocent and then unlearn that somehow and have to kind of relearn it. I think is par for the course.
I think it's developmental.
Yeah.
We come in connected more or less to core, and we're dumped into events, situations that have nothing to do with us, but that we connect it up as being all about us, and into from my background, I look at it as some sort of very rough draft of a script. We get dropped into some very rough draft of a script, very sketchy script sometimes, and we make all these events personal. And we in order to create meaning, we put ourselves as the prime meaning component. So everything becomes about me, and these people are this way because of me, and I think it's developmental, and in short order, pretty soon we are so hurt, so wounded, so much pain. We've pushed back so much that we are totally estranged from core. We have so many conceptual walls up, or we've withdrawn so much into, because it's painful to feel it. So you take an elevator up out of the body into the head, into the thought bubble, and now I'm living in a virtual world.
But the putting that down is disorganizing. I mean, that piece of the puzzle, which we were talking about.
I don't think you ever put it down, though.
Well, there's moments.
You just open that there's more. You're never putting it. You're never putting it down. Nothing is ever left behind. But you're just venturing out of now. You switch places with noticing the mouse to being the mouse. You're venturing out of the mouse hole. Yeah. Into a bigger experience. You have to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, but and it gets put back together again in the body. Take a breath.
Take a breath, man.
It doesn't get put back together again as a concept in the hard drive. It's not data. It's not digital. And then when again, pull that back to Katie. You're on the phone with Katie. That is not simply that is not a communication of data, because it is. You can palpably feel an energetic exchange even over. This defies logic.
Totally.
It's not coming through the phone wires or however we're transmitting these days. You can feel this non-local experience where. And I hope, I'd be interested to hear from our listeners. Please email us if any of you experienced that energetic transmission. If any of you experience that sense of well-being or that thickening in the room, however you want to approach it.
It's always my experience with her is that sense of familiarity, like an old friend. We've kind of called it home before, just that moment where, oh, I'm home. And in that home, not the home I grew up in, because this would not be the case.
It's what happens when someone is operating with a more intimate relationship to their core.
Yeah.
What happens is they are embodying that core, and because we are only one thing, we're feeling it.
Yeah, a return to wholeness.
It's awakened in us. We're not feeling her. I'm not feeling her.
No, I get it.
I'm feeling me. She's just holding a resonance that allows me to tap more of what's latent.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let's
get her back.
Let's get her back. From now on,
let's go drive up there and haul her down the hill.
Katie. Yeah, exactly. Well, we talked about getting her husband in here in some point. He's a
tried.
wonderful poet.
I tried. Stephen Mitchell, of course. I spoke with him about it not too long ago, and he's in the middle of a book.
Okay.
And
we talked about get the two of them together in here, which would be even more fun because, in part I'm just intrigued. I mean, she's a delight, and I don't know him personally. I've not met him, but I would imagine that they're probably pretty interesting together. It's always great, kind of like the Wives show, which, by the way, folks,
we're due for the Wives show, folks.
It's coming up.
Yeah,
we do that every New Year's. Maybe we'll do it early this year, so we're setting resolutions in advance of the actual
let's
date.
Do it.
Yeah, but it's always fun because the
New Year's is on a Thursday this year.
Okay, so we'll do it before then. I can always feel it's like the wife or the spouse kind of completes the picture, for me. I mean, obviously now I know your wife pretty well, so that's a whole nother realm. But it's great to be.
Your wife is the picture.
My wife is totally the picture. I'm just window dressing, she's the picture.
I can't wait to see your wife. I'm always excited when I know I'm going to see your wife.
I love how people love my wife. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it says something good.
Awesome.
Hey, so listen, folks, we're going to have to bow out for today. But of course, we love that you can come and hang out with us. We do invite you to stay with us next week. Tune back in and just set on your calendars right around the 1st that we will be doing the Wives show, so you can tune into that. That's all I got.
See you next time.
All right, take care.